Welcome to the Redox Connection, where we discuss and learn about our extraordinary, amazing bodies and what we can do to support and become responsible for our own well-being. Our focus is on these amazing molecules called redox signaling molecules and how they relate to our functioning. So with us, Dr. Ray Dixon, who is one of the world's first redox educator. And I am so grateful that you're here, Dr. Ray. Welcome. And let's dive into this topic of redox signaling molecules. So, Dr. Ray, what are they exactly?
Well, there are very large textbooks written on what redox signaling molecules are. I mean, very, very technical biochemistry textbooks. So I don't want to get into that kind of complexity because then we all get lost. But essentially, the word redox is an amalgam of two words, which is reductance and oxidants. Now, within every cell of the human body, and we have up to 100 trillion cells, we have the powerhouse of the cells that makes energy, which is called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And most people have heard we can aerobically, with oxygen, produce ATP. Most of the energy in life, over 80%, is produced that way through oxidative phosphorylation in the mitochondria, or the Krebs cycle. And most people have heard of anaerobic production of ATP, where you make the lactic acid that makes you sore when you do exercise, for example. That's without oxygen. So in the mitochondria, when we make ATP, there are some spin-off molecules, you might say, that are also formed. And these molecules are nano-sized. Now, most people are hearing a little bit about nano, and the main concept to get is they're small. They are very, very, very small. They are no more than 4 atoms. So there is no barrier to these reductants and oxidants. They can pass through any membrane. No barrier. Blood-brain barriers, skin, phospholipid bilayer around cells, no barrier. They can travel through and directly influence the DNA, the genes, the genome. So the first discovery was nitric oxide in 1998. Now, I should say it wasn't the first discovery of a redox molecule. It was the first discovery that they signal. Because previously it was considered, for example, oxidants would just create damage, oxidative damage. And that past chapter of the book was using antioxidants to counter that damage. So that's why they became very popular in the last 50 years. What was discovered was there are some of these molecules that are not just damaging. They are actually extremely important to regulate the genes on the DNA, including oxidants, by the way, not just the reductants. So they really balance each other. The reductants, for example, are responsible for instructing the DNA genes within cells to make internal master antioxidants like glutathione and superoxide dismutase. So these are the real master antioxidants. These are not ones you ingest in your diet like carotenoids or polyphenols or vitamin C or zinc or selenium. These are native to the body. They're made inside the body, both the antioxidants glutathione and, of course, redox molecules. Now, since 1998, this whole area of research has exploded. It's gone from a few hundred papers on redox signaling on PubMed, the scholarly database of the world, to now many, many, many thousands of research papers. So much so that you could put in Google Scholar or PubMed any disease and next to it redox signaling molecules, and you will get research papers on that topic. So it's the new frontier. Redox comes from reductants and oxidants, an amalgam of those two names, but made in the mitochondria of the cells. Now, a cardiac cell for the heart, for example, might have 14,000 mitochondria. A red blood cell has none. So you've got a huge range of mitochondria within cells where these molecules are made.
Wow, brilliant. It's extraordinary. As you're talking, I'm very visual of it. I'm diving in and I'm just seeing how the power of these molecules and how interesting, fascinating how we are actually made.
Well, perhaps a further point should be, because people might be confused, what do you mean signal? Signal what? Well, they signal the need for antioxidants. They signal the need for repair. They signal the need for cells regenerating themselves and detoxifying themselves. And they also signal the need for rogue cells to be eliminated, to undergo apoptosis, which is death. Why? You don't want rogue cells proliferating and making more of themselves, because that's what malignancies are. So all that has to be signaled. It has to be recognized and it has to be signaled to keep you well and to keep you healthy. And it's when that signaling, whether it's redox just happens to be the pinnacle of signaling molecules. There are many more signaling molecules. We all have heard of neurotransmitters that signal in the nervous system. We've all heard of hormones, very powerful signaling molecules. But the faintest, the greatest numbers, and the most powerful that regulate everything else is the redoxine, the redox signaling molecule.
Okay, so I'm going to ask that question again about if I've understood well. There's different types of redox signaling of signaling molecules, but redox is one of the foundational ones for our well-being.
It is the most foundational.
Wow.
Nothing has been discovered and more powerful than redox signaling molecule.
Wow. Now, my question is, why haven't we heard about it?
Because it's unraveling as we speak. It's literally the new frontier. I mean, it took 50 years for people to know what an antioxidant was. It took 20 years for penicillin to be accepted across the world and used as an antibiotic. This is a normal process. And we just happen to be at the pioneer stage. So although there's 40, 50,000 research papers on PubMed, the pharmaceutical industry is going ballistic, trying to regulate the redox molecules and control them in some way. Fortunately, as these molecules are native to the human body, there is no toxicity, there is no allergenicity. And one particular company is the first in the world that's been able to make them in a stabilized form. They're very volatile. By the way, they're made in salt water. Rather ironic, because you swim in salt water. You're full of salt water and they're made from salt water. Sodium, chloride, hydrogen, oxygen. Some include nitrogen, but there's no shortage of nitrogen because you breathe that in. It's the main gas in the air. So, yeah, it's a fascinating world. And that's why people haven't heard, because even this particular product that I share is, it's 12 years. It's just moving around word of mouth around the world. I didn't hear about it from my practitioner, my companies. I didn't hear about it. I've attended quite recently 750 doctor conferences, not one mention of redox signaling molecules. There's one I'm scheduled to attend in August next month in Bangkok. No presentation on redox signaling molecules. And it's actually an integrative medical seminar. So, it'll cover all about cannabinoids and cannabis, and it'll cover all about vitamins and minerals and, nutrition, etc. Some herbs, but it certainly is not covering redox signaling molecule. That's how new this is.
Wow. And what I'm understanding is, as important as supplements are, like vitamins and other supplements and whole foods and so on, how important are the redox signaling molecules compared to these supplementations?
Well, there is no comparison. It's the redox signaling molecules that direct the DNA, that run the cells, that control the use of those nutrients.
Right.
So there's really no comparison. Now, we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. let's realize there are 50 essential nutrients to cells. Essential means essential. The cells will not function properly without them. So you've got your vitamins and minerals, and you've got, you know, your fatty acids, your omega-3s, and your carbs, your amino acids, of course. I mean, glutathione, the master antioxidant, requires 3 amino acids. Well, they're proteins. So you know, we do need a healthy diet and clean air and clean water. I mean, that's not changing. Having got those, though, what regulates everything is redox molecules. So what, since I've been utilizing these products and sharing them, is I want to get the redox balance right first, because it affects everything else, including the fact that you often need a lot less nutritional supplements when the efficiency of the cell is much greater due to having more redox molecules. So by all means, supplements are important. In fact, the company also makes supplements that complement and work with the redox molecule flagship product. But as far as I'm concerned, this is as close to a holy grail as you are ever going to get. When I was in the nutritional world, and I still am, but there was no universal nutrient. There is no universal nutrient that works on everything. There is no universal herb that works on everything.
Wow.
Redox molecules work on everything.
And as far as I know, and I'm sure you can confirm that, not only on us humans, but on every living cell, correct?
Every living cell.
Beautiful.
Whether it's an animal or a person.
Or a plant.
Or what?
Plants.
Sure.
Yeah. So I can understand that the redox signaling molecules is actually the foundation of life. This is just a phrase that I've heard, and I'm understanding it more and more. But you said something very, very interesting in our previous call about that it's interface between energy and matter. Can you explain that a bit better?
Well, it gets subtle in the human body. If you actually look at the Eastern philosophies that underpin a lot of natural healing and natural medicine, whether it's Chinese or whether it's Ayurvedic from India or yoga, they will always talk about chi or ki or life force or prana in the yoga world. Well, what is that? Well, that's forms of energy that are pretty hard to measure. And in fact, they've never been measured, but we all know they're there. And there's got to be an interface between the vibrationally higher levels of energy and the physically denser states, which are material. Now, your body is dense, it's three-dimensional, it's full of cells, it's material. So there has to be a connecting point between life force, energetics, if you like, and chemistry. Chemistry is when it becomes measurable at this point in time. Yeah. Let's be aware, at a future point in time, they'll be clearly able to measure energy and prana and life force. And there are some ways of doing it now, disputed. But there will be a way to prove that in due course. That's a foregone conclusion. It's just a matter of time. So that interface of the universality of life force and prana or chi or ki with the physiology, which is functioning in cells, is the redox molecules, the nano-sized redox molecules.
And this makes me just want to learn more and about them, right? And as you were mentioning, we've got trillions of these cells in our body, and if they're made in the mitochondria, well, this is something that's going on constantly within our living life, our daily life, correct?
Oh, trillions by the second, by the minute, by the hour, by the day. And if they shut down in your body right now, you'd be dead in 1 minute.
Wow, say that again.
There's trillions and trillions of these molecules made every second, of every minute, of every hour, of every day. And if your body shut down the production of redox molecules right now, you'd be dead in 1 minute.
Wow. That just, I think, explains very clearly how foundational this topic actually is for life itself. So I just want to say once again, thank you, Dr. Ray, for joining. Thank you for explaining in the most simple way that we can understand. And I'm going to invite you all to jump into our future calls, where we will be diving into the connection between the redox, these amazing molecules, and your well-being. And just remember that healthy cells, healthy you, happy you. See you next time. Thank you, Dr. Ray.
Bye. Welcome. Bye.
Bye.